to diminish this demand, but, after 6 hours' hot argument, the Mutware only reduced it by 2. This claim was then settled, upon the understanding that we should be allowed to travel through Uhha as far as the Rufiji River, without being further mulcted. November 5th. Leaving Kawanga early in the morning, and continuing our march over the boundless plains, which were bleached white by the hot equatorial sun, we were marching westward full of pleasant anticipations that we were nearing the end of our troubles, joyfully congratulating ourselves that within 5 days we should see that which I had come so far from civilization, and through so many difficulties to see, and were about passing a cluster of villages, with all the confidence which men possess, against whom no one had further claim or a word to say, when I noticed 2 men darting from a group of natives who were watching us, and running towards the head of the expedition, with the object, evidently, of preventing further progress. The caravan stopped, and I walked forward to ascertain the cause from the 2 natives. I was greeted politely by the 2 Wahha with the usual Yambos, and was then asked, "Why does the white man pass the village of the king of Uhha without a salutation and a gift? Does not the white man know there lives a king in Uhha, to whom the Wangwana and the Arabs pay something for right of passage?" "Why, we paid last night to the chief of Kawanga, who informed us that he was the man deputed by the king of Uhha to collect the toll." "How much did you pay?" 10 doti of good cloth. "Are you sure?" "Quite sure. If you ask him, he will tell you so." "Well," said one of the Wahha, a fine, handsome, intelligent looking youth, "it is our duty to the king to halt you here until we find the truth of this. Will you walk to our village, and rest yourselves under the shade of our trees until we can send messengers to Kawanga?" "No. The sun is but an hour high, and we have far to travel. But, in order to show you that we do not seek to pass through your country without doing that which is right, we will rest where we now stand, and we will send with your messengers 2 of our soldiers, who will show you the man to whom we paid the cloth." The messengers departed, but, in the meantime, the handsome youth, who turned out to be the nephew of the king, whispered some order to a lad, who immediately hastened away with the speed of an antelope, to the cluster of villages which we had just passed. The result of this errand, as we saw in a short time, was the approach of a body of warriors, about 50 in number, headed by a tall, fine looking man, who was dressed in a crimson robe called joho, 2 ends of which were tied in a knot over the left shoulder. A new piece of American sheeting was folded like a turban around his head, and a large curved piece of polished ivory was suspended to his neck. He and his people were all armed with spears, and bows and arrows, and their advance was marked with a deliberation that showed they felt confidence in any issue that might transpire. We were halted on the eastern side of the Pomboy stream, near the village of Lukoma, in Kimenyi, Uhha. The gorgeously dressed chief was a remarkable man in appearance. His face was oval in form, high cheekbones, eyes deeply sunk, a prominent and bold forehead, a fine nose, and a well cut mouth. He was a tall figure, and perfectly symmetrical. When near to us, he hailed me with the words, "Yambo bana," (how do you do, master?) in quite a cordial tone. I replied, cordially also, "Yambo Mutware," (how do you do, chief?) We, myself and men, interchanged Yambos with his warriors, and there was nothing in our first introduction to indicate that the meeting was of a hostile character. The chief seated himself, his haunches resting on his heels, laying down his bows and arrows by his side. His men did likewise. I seated myself on a bale, and each of my men sat down on their loads, forming quite a semicircle. The Wahha slightly outnumbered my party, But, while they were only armed with bows and arrows, spears and knob sticks, we were armed with rifles, muskets, revolvers, pistols, and hatchets. All were seated, and deep silence was maintained by the assembly. The great plains around us were as still in this bright noon as if they were deserted of all living creatures. Then the chief spoke. "I am Mionvu, the great Mutwar of Kimenyi, and am next to the king who lives yonder," pointing to a large village some naked hills about 10 miles to the north. "I have come to talk with the white man. It has always been the custom of the Arabs and the Wangwana to make a present to the king when they pass through his country. Does not the white man mean to pay the king's dues? Why does the white man halt in the road? Why will he not enter the village of Lakoma, where there is food and shade, where we can discuss this thing quietly? Does the white man mean to fight? I know well he is stronger than we are. His men have guns, and the Waha have but bows and arrows and spears, but Uhha is large, and our villages are many. Let him look around him everywhere. All is Uhha, and our country extends much farther than he can see or walk in a day. The king of Uhha is strong, yet he wishes friendship only with the white man. Will the white man have war or peace?" A deep murmur of assent followed this speech of Mionvu from his people, and disapprobation blended with a certain uneasiness from my men. When about replying, the words of General Sherman, which I heard him utter to the chiefs of the Arapahoes and the Cheyennes at North Platte, in 1867, came to my mind, and something of their spirit I embodied in my reply to Mionvu, Mutwar of Kimenyi. Mionvu, the great Mutwar, asked me if I have come for war. When did Mionvu ever hear of a white man warring against black man? Mionvu must understand that the white men are different from the black. White men do not leave their country to fight the black people, neither do they come here to buy ivory or slaves. They come to make friends with black people. They come to search for rivers, and lakes, and mountains. They come to discover what countries, what peoples, what rivers, what lakes, what forests, what plains, what mountains and hills are in your country. To know the different animals that are in the land of the black people, that when they go back, they may tell the white kings, and men, and children, what they have seen and heard in the land so far from them. The white people are different from the Arabs and the Wangwana. The white people know everything, and are very strong. When they fight, the Arabs and the Wangwana run away. We have great guns which thunder, and when they shoot, the earth trembles. We have guns which carry bullets farther than you can see, even with these little things, pointing to my revolvers. I could kill 10 men, quicker than you could count. We are stronger than the Waha. Mionvu has spoken the truth, yet we do not wish to fight. I could kill Mionvu now, yet I talk to him as a friend. I wish to be a friend to Mionvu and to the black people. Will Mionvu say what I can do for him?" As these words were translated to him, imperfectly I suppose, but still intelligibly, the face of the Waha showed how well they appreciated them. Once or twice I thought I detected something like fear, but my assertions that I desired peace and friendship with them soon obliterated such feelings. Mionvu replied, "The white man tells me he is friendly. Why does he not come to our village? Why does he stop on the road? The sun is hot. Mionvu will not speak here any more. If the white man is a friend, he will come to the village. We must stop now. It is noon. You have broken our march. We will go and camp in your village," I said, at the same time rising, and pointing to the men to take up their loads. We were compelled to camp. There was no help for it. The messengers did not return from Kawanga. Having arrived in his village, Mionvu had cast himself at full length under the scanty shade afforded by a few trees within the boma. About 2 p.m. the messengers returned, saying it was true the chief of Kawanga had taken 10 cloths, not, however, for the king of Uhha, but for himself.